Hey guys, got a fun little experiment today I'm looking forward to. Then I've also got, that's with the soap. Then I've also got a vintage razor that I haven't shaved with in a long time. And we'll talk about that. And then I get to enjoy another shave with this Stirling High Mountain White that I have so enjoyed the last few days. All right, so let's put everything down and then we'll start talking about stuff. I'm going to get this brush back in the water. It holds a ton of water. It's a big bloom. It's almost too big for my little typical yogurt cup that most of my other brushes do not have a problem with. But this is such a big bloom. All right, this is the flat bottom new from Gillette. So we look at it, we know it's from Gillette. If it's an open comb and it's a vintage Gillette, then it's almost always a new. And it's all capitalized is the way we write that. And then you look at the bottom of it and it's a flat bottom new. I'm trying to get, unfortunately, if I bring it closer, it just gets fuzzy. Now, I brought along another new that's similar. This is a raised, don't drop it now. It's slippery because it's been replated. This is a raised flat bottom new over here. And you can see that raised platform going along the center, and it goes to both sides, of course. And because of the structure, there is they just changed the way these news were done. With this style, it's a sleeker design because the ridges that hold the blade properly come down from the top cap in both models like that. Those rails beside the center pin, center bolt. Well, the flat bottom has grooves that those can go down into, and they go right through basically. They don't come out the bottom really, but they go into a flush with the base plate. Well, that is with the flat bottom new. Here is the raised flat bottom new. Now this is not a three-piece design. You do have raised flat bottoms that are the three-piece, but this is just a two-piece. The base plate is affixed to the handle, the knob down here, and all that. And then, so this has a longer bolt, but it still has those same rails. Now this one also has these 4 alignment posts that always keep the blade perfect. And I do love those. But instead of going through the base plate, into the holes, like this one, they have thickened the base plate and then provided a long slot for that in this, with this raised flat bottom new. And in my recollection, these aren't as comfortable shavers as I usually prefer. I believe this raised flat bottom new is a little nicer. I'm sorry, this flat bottom new is a little nicer than the raised flat bottom new to my skin, but I have not given it a conclusive test. So while everything is apart, let's go ahead and put our Gillette Silver Blue in. It's got 7 uses on it, so it's pretty young, relatively speaking to me. I like to keep my hand flat when I put on blades and that sort of thing. And then also if you do choose to screw them on this way, then right as it starts to catch and start to get tight, I let up my fingers, and that way I'm never pinched. All right, now let's check. Yep, perfect alignment. And there we go. Just it almost looks like a tech. Really, it does. It's just so slimlined. All right, very good. Now, what I told you about the fun with the soap is this Silk Tallow base from Chiseled Face. This is loyal. Got a bunch of manly type scent notes in it. I really like it. It was in honor of his father and men like him that just, they go out and into the shop or, whatever needs to be done, and they take care of business. And this base, the Silk Tallow base, has really been one that has tripped me up. And most of the time that I've used it, I've had to go back and get more soap. And then last couple times I've really loaded it for a long time, and then I haven't needed to go back. But it's still one that just, it hasn't been like other soaps in that it was pretty quick to figure out the loading process. So I'm going to go back to my scooping. I want to scoop up, and one of my wonderful YouTube, I'm sorry, I've got an itchy eyeball for some reason, so I keep having to go back to it. So let us try out a 1/4 teaspoon of soap. Most soaps that I've tried, and I have tried hundreds, probably on the order of 450 or more soaps. Of course, that doesn't mean 450 different bases, but I've tried a lot. And almost all of them will work great with a 1/4 teaspoon, and many of those will work great with even less than a 1/4 teaspoon. There are just a few, like 2 or 3, and I think this may be one of them, that need more than a 1/4 teaspoon. Some of the Holy Cow formulations are the other ones. All right, so we're going to take, and this is if you're a new guy and you're just having loading issues for some reason, well, watch some more of my videos and maybe that'll help you with loading. Because there's some variables, like you come at it with a dry brush. Dry brush doesn't really pick up soap in many cases. Go with a soaking brush, sometimes that can actually be counterproductive. So somewhere in between is often nice, and that can still be a problem. And so for some new guys, until you get the hang of it. And so one of my big recommendations is to use a 1/4 teaspoon. And I like this thin kind, because it'll cut through the soap. There are plenty of measuring spoons out there, big box stores and all that have very thick walls. And I mean, they'll kind of work, but they're a little bit harder to dig through the soap and dig it out if it's a harder soap. So we'll just see if this is going to be enough soap. So it'll be a good comparison. And in fact, maybe one of the easiest ways to load this soap is to do this. And there are guys out there who measure with a measuring spoon every time, because that's just the way they want to do it. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, a certain subset of guys, a couple of subsets, like scientific guys who like precision, might load with a spoon, scoop. Also, guys who really want to make sure that they try to introduce very little bacteria into their soaps. They don't want to roll their brush around in the soap, and so they scoop it. That's another group. Also, people like me, every once in a while I'll smell a soap and think, you know what, I am almost sure I'm not going to keep this soap, but I'd like to try it, especially bring it out to you guys. And so I will scoop it then to preserve it and make it easier to sell. Never really had a problem with it, but just, you know, for grins, I think some people do like it better if it's just been scooped instead of lathered directly. All right, so we've got a 1/4 teaspoon in the bowl. I showed you what it looked like. Let me get my face wet and let us just see what happens. Now this is a big knot, and so I can shake quite a bit of water out of it. It's still lightly wet. Let's just see what happens. I think I loaded one time. I think I loaded for 2 minutes to try to make sure I was getting enough soap when I was brush loading right from the puck. Now, wouldn't it be funny if this just wasn't nearly enough? And that's kind of what it looks like. It's almost all been picked up from, oh, wow. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of water. It also could be that shook out maybe too much water from my brush. During my attempts at loading this soap, I mean, I always got a great lather and I love the way it feels. But it was just kind of frustrating to always have to go back, and I would up it from my usual 30-second load, which is more than enough for many soaps. I would up it to 45 and it still wasn't enough. I'd up it to a minute and it still wasn't enough. And looky there. Quarter teaspoon, not enough. Wow. So I'm going to pause you and scoop out another, and the bottom of the bowl is not dry right now, and so I'm going to see what I can do about pressing more into the bottom of the bowl. See what kind of success I'm going to have with that. Okay, I kind of dried out one of the sections there and just caked it all in there, because I know if I keep going at it with my brush, it'll all eventually get, you know, worked in. And sure enough, the lather is starting to thicken a little bit. It was very, very bubbly and airy in the beginning because I just didn't have enough soap. So this is definitely soap that needs more product than any other soap I've used by far. I've never had to add this much. Yeah, see, we're starting to see some decent lather come together here. Let's go ahead and put another teaspoon in. So that's 2 teaspoons so far added. I'm going to keep changing direction because that takes that triangle of brown right there and kind of works at it from both sides. Since I've got these ridges in my bowl, I kind of wish they were more rounded, but they kind of have pointy ridgeness to them, and so it sometimes the lather can hide behind in the lee of the ridge, and so I have to make sure I reverse my direction to get that. Yeah, see, look, we're doing well so far now. Maybe 2 teaspoons, or maybe 2 quarter teaspoons is overkill. We'll see. What I could also do is just kind of proceed on, not really try to scoop up all of it from the bottom of the bowl. And then sometimes what you can then review at the end of the shave is how much is left in that chunk, in that section of the bowl. Now we've got 3 teaspoons in the lather, 3 teaspoons of water. But you know, if I was faced with like 2 minutes of loading or something like that with this particular soap, I really might. Sorry for the long pause, but I really might switch to scooping for this particular soap. And you don't, because because it takes such a long time to load with directly from the tub, then it may take a while to figure out through the process of elimination with, if you have a good collection of brushes, you know, how long each brush really needs to load. And so using the scooping takes all that out of the realm of wonder, and it makes it a lot more concrete. So yeah, now we're looking good. So that may be how I handle this soap. Now, how much brown is left? Oh, it's almost all in the lather. So wow, it looks like I probably need, if I had to guess, I need about 1 3/4 of these little scoops that I have, which is a 1/4 teaspoon. So you can do the math with putting together all those fractions if you want, but that might be what I do from here on out. And then I know that I'm going to have enough lather from the beginning. And we've already got 4 teaspoons of water in here, and it's looking good. I don't have a whole ton of lather here. Now you can see why Ron of Chiseled Face said that this was not going to replace, in the near future, this wasn't going to be the base to replace his good old faithful tallow version that he's had for so many years, even though I love the performance of this one better. I like the way it feels on my skin better, more luxurious, that sort of thing. But with this kind of usage information, I'm glad he's keeping the other one, because these tubs are definitely not going to last nearly as long as his other formula. And I think, yeah, that's with this kind of formula with a lot of moisturizers in it and stuff, I am gonna just mix for a little bit more to make sure it's all consistent. I'm not gonna add any more water. 4 teaspoons. Nah, I can't help it. Let's add a little bit more. I'll add another 1/2 teaspoon. It's a good looking lather. I love the scent on this. If you want the scent notes, just jump into the description of the video. Let me get my face wet again. So obviously, knowing how many scoops to put in the bowl, we could definitely be getting to a good lather quicker, instead of mixing it for a while and realizing it's not enough. And I think maybe I added too much water. It's pretty thin. Probably still perform well, but so what I can do is get more lather. Now if you ever want to play around with a little bit of an experiment, if you put lather on that's a little too thin and you got a little bit of time, just kind of keep working it into your face. Yeah, I'm actually gonna I put too much water in this. I got crazy with the water. And I don't actually want to just keep dipping out more lather, so let's just go to the puck, because I need to thicken what's on my face. But what I was saying is, if you have kind of a lather that's a little more wet than you might prefer, just keep working it, because what's going to happen is you get a little bit of water absorption into your skin, but you'll also get some water evaporation. And so as you work it, you will get gradually a thicker and thicker lather, just because the water is evaporating from the lather. I'm gonna have to go back in again. I don't want to overdo it and have to add more water, so I just go in for a few seconds usually. But this puck is dry because I was scooping it. Again, this brush is just terrific. I'm not going to get brush burn with all this work. And one of the big complaints when we talk bowl lathering versus face lathering, people hassle me about how they really enjoy the brushes and the feel on their face. It's part of the experience to them. And I fully agree. And you know what I realized? Was that I actually spend more time as a bowl latherer with the brush on my face than I've seen other face latherers on YouTube do. Because they're going for a concentrate. They like their lathers drier, so it doesn't take as long to get to that dry lather. Yeah, we've still got a really wet lather on. And so it's a myth, you know, that bowl latherers don't spend, oh, this is nice, don't spend as much time with the brush on their face. And maybe that's true for some, but I have this attitude, I have this kind of theory that you need to work the lather into your skin. And so I think because of that, I end up having more brush to skin time than some face latherers. I do have a little bit of blade feel, but it is just easily cutting through. It's very comfortable, very predictable. This razor has some good grab on the blade right up to the edge. Well, sure enough, I did definitely get a wonderful shave from that. It was thin. You could see it on my face as thin. But the razor moved easily. Nice glide, because you just need a tiny little layer of lather to actually do the job. Anything more than in a sense, and this is just an idea I'm having. I'm even going to go back and get some more. I put a few drops of water on the soap to maybe help with bringing out more soap. But, I mean, the blade is so close to your skin, and the goal is to protect, the lather is to protect your skin from the blade, so that the metal can move across your skin without cutting hairs closely, but without doing damage to your skin. Now, we have added more soap than we have water, and so now we need to add a little bit of water to the mix. And so, since you are trying to guard your skin from the blade, you really only need maybe a, 0.2 of a millimeter or something of a layer of shaving soap to get the job done. Something like that, something tiny, smaller than even a millimeter. Man, this brush is great, wonderfully suited for this job, whether I'm painting or whether I'm just having to work my face more. These soft tips, man, Stirling, great job. 4 teaspoons of water plus 1.5, so 5.5 teaspoons of water so far. And as you can see, I'm kind of exhausting all of the lather that's that's in this brush. But this is my second pass, so we don't need too much more. I'm really glad I got this little razor out, because it is one, like you saw, the handle comes off, and so any aftermarket handle from Maggard or anybody like that is gonna be great with this. And I'm gonna go, since it's the second pass, oh, a nice glide here. Man, that's terrific. So many times it's uncanny. I guess I should kind of expect this to be the case, but these Gillette Silver Blues, it's almost like Gillette, the razor company, was making sure that blades like this worked in all their razors. A really good blade for me in so many razors. Feather is that way, you know. They make the ASD2, which is a wonderful mild shaver. But it's so mild that only, for me, the feather blades were really the only ones to use with it. There was maybe one or two other blade brands that I tried, and I tried a whole lot while I had that razor. But since it was so few, and since it's like a $140 razor, I just didn't have the extra money to keep it around when it would only work with a few blades. There we go. And yeah, this lather feels terrific. The luxury feel, slick and creamy. Very, very nice. But yeah, I did overwater it. And so I made it too thin. However, if I still get to the end of the shave and I don't have very much suds in here, then I still needed to have put in some more soap. I could possibly need 2.5 scoops. 2.5 of these, which would be a half plus 1/8 teaspoons of soap per use. That would just be, that's far, far and above anything else. All right, rinse. Because my lather is kind of on the thin side, I am making sure to blot my face and remove excess water between passes, and that really helps. Now I'm just going to try to get out all the lather I have in the bowl here. Man, this brush. Speaking of this brush, one of you guys was commenting and asking a question and saying how this compares to the Whip Dog brush. I've got a couple of Whip Dog silver tips that I really, really enjoy, and I think it's very similar. It has that very easy splay, super soft tips, feel like you're lathering with a bunny tail, you know. Wonderful, luxurious feeling, not too floppy. It can still whip up soap as needed. However, I can't be super fair with the comparison because both of my Whip Dogs are 22 millimeter and 24 millimeter, and they're very different in terms of size from this 26. It seems like maybe this 26 compared to my Whip Dog 24, it's just so much bigger. Similar feel, but this, I think it's denser than the Whip Dog. I probably, if I had to say right now, I'd probably like this one a little better, but it's slightly unfair. I'd have to try a 26 millimeter Whip Dog. My guess is that it would be a little smaller than this one, which may or may not be a bad thing. Now let's see with this one, since we got a little bit of blade feel, since it is an open comb new. Let's See if we get any stealth irritation that kind of jumps up unexpected, it's kind of some surprise buildup. Somebody else was saying they purchased a Yaki brush in a recent comment, the Mocha, I believe, and it was a 2-band Yaki. They were saying they really enjoyed it, super soft tips. Now, it is going to be a very different brush than this one because this is a 3-band. As I pull away the lather from the side here, we've got a white color in the tips, and then we've got about a finger width of dark color, and then we've got a finger width of the lighter color, and the lighter color goes the rest of the way down. With a 2-band, this dark band right here would go all the way down and usually touches kind of the handle. And so it's a much larger black band. Now on the 2 bands, you keep going, it'll still turn lighter. And so in a sense, even the 2 bands are 3 bands. We just don't usually see the 3rd band because it's under the handle. And so that Mocha with a 2-band Yaki, it's a nice knot, nice soft tips, but it's going to differ very much from this one in the sense of the backbone of the bristles. You're going to get a more backbone with that 2-band than you will with this guy. Loving the scent here. That would be an interesting percentage. Let's say I needed 2.5 of my little measuring spoons. And then if you compare that normally I need 1 of the measuring spoons, then could you say that if I loaded 2.5 times my normal load, if I wanted to brush load from the tub, 2.5 times that normal? I think that's kind of what I've done. So this little open comb is a wonderful piece. I do feel just a hair of irritation, a little touch of irritation down in this area. Let me turn you off and get a good rinse so that I can look how close I was able to come. It's a nice, close, comfortable shave. Not the best, but I bet if I did a touch-up or something, it would be, it'll be even better. I could definitely go to work, pretty much any job, and not have a problem. There's a length on just a few tips here that's left over. And again, with me, I can't go against the grain. Something about how my hair lays, my stubble lays, maybe it lays too close to horizontal, so that I feel like what could be happening is the edge of the blade lifts the hair up and pulls up some skin too. I end up getting cuts and a lot of irritation if I do go against the grain with 99% of the razors out there. And so I just don't bother with it. Face feels good. Let us. About to go to bed, so I don't need anything. I've got this Declaration Grooming Dark Fall, but it is such a wonderful scent. I don't want to enjoy it for 5 minutes and then fall asleep. You know, that's a waste of something really awesome. So let's get something a little bit more tame. You know what? Old Spice is actually a bit of a component in the Loyal. What I'm going to do is only use a tiny bit of that. But to do the nourishing and the helping out the tiny bit of razor rash I had, I've got some Lucky Tiger aloe type face tonic here. I had an injury with my elbow here years ago, and I can't bend it in as far, and so in terms of getting over here, that's been relegated to only one hand instead of both. So I can't use my right arm to do that. All right, so that's very soothing with chamomile and calendula and some other things like that, and a nice kind of orangey scent, which does go well with the Old Spice. And so this is the original scent. They, I think over in India and stuff, they're still kind of using a formulation that's a little closer to the original than what we have here in America. And just a little bit I can use to splash on and enjoy that nice scent as we're getting ready for bed, that sort of thing. Man, this little cap, isn't that awesome? I don't know about you guys. I remember my dad's Old Spice had this little cool cap that just kind of friction fit in there. So it had a great feel to it. Big fan. A little bit of stinging because of the alcohol in the aftershave there, but that'll go away soon. And with me, sometimes an alcohol splash can generate a little bit of redness, and that could be a little bit of irritation, but it usually goes away within a few minutes, and so it's nothing to worry too much about. I'm so glad one of you suggested using the scoop method on this soap base that was giving me such trouble. I'm really glad about that, and I sure hope you're watching. You know, I might try face lathering with this brush sometime because it is so big. When I am rinsing it out, and with big knots, that's really important. You don't want soap to be in the middle of the knot. And if you do a cursory rinse, sometimes that's where it can linger. You don't want soap to be in there because it can destroy the alkalis or whatever chemical property that we have in soap that can eat away at the bristles of natural hair brushes like boar and horse, and I think horse, and badger. As I rinsed it out, pulled it out of the water, it was saturated in water, and I grab it like this, all my brushes when I'm done, and I flick them quickly back and forth like this down in the sink. And like a dog shaking, anything will just fly all over the place. And so that's why I do it down in the sink like that, and that way the water just stays in the sink. Well, with this one, it holds in so much water, I start really slowly because I know if I were to do it quickly right away, it would bounce off the sink. It holds so much water, I'd just have a big old mess. You can feel the weight of the water in the brush. And then once the excess kind of shakes out initially, then I can do my usual quick shake. And so this is a heavy brush with water. And then I stropped it on the towel back and forth there to kind of get it ready and loose and all that. And wow, it's terrific. And so what about face lathering with this one? Such a big knot. Why not try it sometime? I kind of feel like that's what I've been doing with this base. I've had to go back to the soap so many times that I've had to kind of rework it on the face, right? Anyway, we'll try that sometime, I think. The stats on the soap and water ratio, I went back a few times. So I used 2 1/4 teaspoons, so half a teaspoon of soap, plus going back 2 or 3 times to get more soap. What that adds up to, I don't know. That equaled to 5.5 teaspoons of water. I think next time I might try, just to make it kind of even, next time, what if I try 3 scoops, 3/4 teaspoons? There are some soaps, several soap bases, where I only need 1/8 of a teaspoon of the soap base to give me enough lather for 5 passes. So I'm glad that Ron was very public about this base, and he actually kind of warned people in the beginning, you know, if you really want your lather, your soap to go far and give you lots of uses, this probably isn't the soap for you. All right. But it's a whole different feel. I'm glad he made it. I rotate through soaps quite a bit, and so I will probably keep the ones that I have that are this base and not try to, you know, pawn them off on somebody because they're not going to last as long. They'll probably still last me forever because I've just got so many soaps. Oh yeah, and see all that irritation? Gone. I say all that irritation. It wasn't really all that much. But yeah, it's gone. We're good. You know, sometimes I'm a little harsh on soaps that give you little shaves, less shaves for your money. And this is definitely the worst offender I've ever tried. But I'm not really harassing him very much at all in this video, and here's the reason why. I think number one, it feels great. The lather does, works great, but the selection of scents that Chiseled Face offers that selection is tremendous. Some of my favorites: Midnight Stag, Sherlock, Loyal, that just so Ghost Town Barber is wonderful, and you know, Gearhead, and there's Easy Street, and just the scents that are bold like Midnight Stag and Sherlock and that sort of thing. And then you've got kind of calm ones that are good any time of the year. There are just so many choices that they have that I think that's why I'm fine with it. But I do issue the warning that you're not going to get nearly as many shaves per tub of product with the Silk Tallow base. All right, guys. Well, this has been a long video. It just turned out that way because we talked a little bit about the difference in the Gillette new razors. I showed you the raised flat bottom and compared it to the flat bottom that I actually used during the shave. And sure enough, that I think the irritation that I got that was pretty minimal disappeared pretty quickly, but even that might have been mitigated a little bit by a little bit better technique. But yeah, everything feels great. I got a wonderfully close shave, almost baby butt smooth on my cheeks. And then we also, as usual with this Silk Tallow base, it just wasn't easy breezy. It required some work. In the past, I've had to go back and work it more, load more onto the brush. In nearer attempts, I was just spending quite a while loading with it. And so we just had a little bit longer of a video today. Matter of fact, my camera actually split it up into two because we got more than 4 gigabytes on part of it. And so now we're on the second part. Let's reward you guys, huh? With my first ever giveaway on my channel. I just looked into my box of stuff to sell, and it's a used soap. It's not new, but it's got a lot of soap in it. The person who had it before me was kind enough to scoop it. I'm actually kind of smelling it, and it smells really good. I tried Dickens, the previous version before. This one is Excelsior, Bear Stearns Man's Excelsior base. It's obviously a holiday scent. Bear Stearns Man actually has the cookie recipe that goes with this. I think it's cranberry and spices and stuff. But you know what's jumping out right away is more the sweet fruity that's on the puck right now. The version I tried, the Glissant base years ago, had a little bit too much spices in the mix. I don't know if those are going to come out when this guy gets wet, but this is the Excelsior version of Dickens, and it's got a lot of product in there. And so if you're interested, we've still got some winter left, and so this might be a fun soap to play around with, or you've never tried Bear Stearns Man Excelsior and you'd like it, then I'll send it to you. I will, I don't know about international shipping with COVID going on right now, but as long as the price is somewhat reasonable, I will ship it. I'll cover the cost of shipping it internationally as well. As long as it's just not crazy nuts, I'll do that. Because I so cherish you, my international viewers. I know we've got some in South America, got some in England, we've got Singapore, we've got France, Italy, Germany. We've got somebody up in the Netherlands. So very cool. I'm really happy. And Asia. We've got a Peter over there in Southern Asia. And I've definitely answered some Russian. I had to use Google Translate to answer some Russian questions in the comments as well. So yeah, I'll get this to you. if it's at all reasonable. Unfortunately, it may not have tracking if it's international. Sometimes that's the case, so that's a little bit of a risk there. But here's how you do, here's how you get it. Here's how you get in the running. Use the word Dickens in your comment to me on this video. Comment on this video, and somewhere near the end of your comment, if you have a short one-line comment, then it can be a part of that line, but just toward the end to make it easier to find, use the word Dickens in the last line of your comment, the last sentence of your comment. That was a Dickens of a shave, or something like that. Just use the word Dickens, and I will put you in basically a random type drawing thing on the web, and all the people who respond with Dickens in the comment, I'll put your username in there and I'll do a drawing. You'll just have to trust me that I'll do it fairly. And then I'll contact you if you are the winner, and if you're still interested, I'll send this to you free of charge. So it's nice, heavy. It's got I love these Pet G jars from Barrister and Mann. He had to switch away from them because they kept getting broken in the supplier and all that stuff. But and this one's actually called Dickens Revisited. So maybe that's why it smells slightly different. I kind of like that one actually. But we'll just trust that there's some spices in there that would come out when wet that I would not like. That's all right. You can get it and try it if you're the winner, and let me know how it goes. All right, there we go. So we'll do a little, my first giveaway to reward any of you guys who hung on past the 40-minute mark and were able to see this part of the video. All right, guys. Well, my face feels great. This soap base definitely rewards you with moisturizing properties. The Old Spice, wonderful. I like it when I use it with either the witch hazel or the Lucky Tiger aloe, because you don't have to use very much, and so it's more of it's a lesser of a quantity of Old Spice instead of just a full tilt heavy blend, and it's really enjoyable. I like it. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed seeing the flat bottom new from old time Gillette. It's a great little shaver, and you could probably pick one up on eBay or in the shave forums and things like that. It's a little expensive because they're a little rare, but compared to other vintage Gillettes, it's nowhere near like a Wolfman or a Timeless or anything like that. All right, now, you guys take care. I sure hope there's something in this video that's going to help you out. And this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. And remember, if you want to be entered for the contest, for the drawing, for the Barrister and Mann Dickens Revisited used soap puck, then put a comment on this video in the last line, somewhere in the last line, use the word Dickens. And I'll keep it open until today's kind of early Saturday morning. So we'll say Monday, at the end of the day Monday, that midnight Eastern Standard Time in the US, which is -5 UTC, -5 hours from the Greenwich Mean Time. That'll be kind of the cutoff. And if somebody's like a minute after or something like that, then, you know, there's some grace there, most likely. But if a ton of people come in like at the very end after midnight, then, I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere, right? But anyway, there we go. You guys, take care. Actually, let's add an addendum to that video, because it occurred to me that by the time the video is released, especially these days, I'm having a little bit slow of a publishing schedule. Let's go with, as the date, February 9th, which I believe is a Tuesday. And that's the deadline at the end of the day on February 9th, that midnight that's at the end of February 9th. That'll be the cutoff for those of you who are interested in the Dickens soap giveaway. Like I said, just put Dickens as the last line of your comment on this very video. And now I believe I've given you a few days to watch the video and respond. So I think that's more reasonable. Pretty sure I've already actually passed the time I initially mentioned in the in the video. All right, February 9th. Thanks, man. Take care, guys.